Okay, so this is activity. Am I even sharing my screen? Doesn't look like the right screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
You can, okay, cool. So again, activity 3A is about getting used to another base by just playing with coins. And we're gonna do that just by writing down the first counting numbers. So first we'll write down the first 10 counting numbers in base 5. What do they look like? Remember, we only have a certain number of digits, 0 through 4, to make that happen. Because base 5 is grouping by 25, then playing with pennies, nickels, and quarters is a nice way to try and get used to that. What we'll do is we'll keep rolling a dice, and every time we roll the dice, we'll get some pennies. And then whenever possible, we'll trade in those pennies for nickels and trade in those nickels for quarters. And the goal is to keep rolling the dice till you build up 2 quarters. Once you get 2 quarters, you win. So it's kind of nice to play this with someone else, but you can play alone. The second version of the game is we start with 3 quarters, and every time we roll the dice, we have to take away from what we started with. And then I want you to build tables like these to keep track of them. And then there's a few other exercises that are kind of like the homework here. So I just want to demonstrate me playing this game. I'm going to use the coin app so you can see me playing with coins. And you could either use the grid version of the coins or just the coins, or better, just get some coins in your house and do this with a friend or a kid. Okay, the other thing I need, so you can see me rolling the dice, is I'm going to use some virtual dice. I'm going to use the Google Dice Roller here. Okay, so they said I rolled a 3. So I'm going to start building this. I need a piece of paper to take notes on. So I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to get it set up. So this is activity 3-1A. And we are playing with base 5. And I'm doing this part 2 or part 3? Let's see. This is part 2. And so I want to build 2 quarters is this one. And what I want to keep track of is I want to keep track of the roll. I want to keep track of, let's see, quarters, nickels, and pennies. That's it. And I'm putting them in this order because that's kind of the way we write things down in base 5. Bigger place value goes to the left. So quarters, nickels, pennies. And every time we roll, I'll make a new row. So my first roll, I got a 3, so I only have 3 pennies right now. And then I just keep rolling. And sometimes it's nice to see them, which is why I have this out here. So let's clear that. So on my paper on my desk, I might have some pennies in front of me. So I have 3 pennies that I rolled. And then I roll again. 4, it's not bad. So then I get 4 more pennies. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to trade in because I know I have enough to trade in. So I'm just going to use the trade in button for nickels. And they say, okay, with 3 pennies and 4 pennies, that gives you 1 nickel and 2 pennies. So what does that look like in my notes? I just write down what I got next. I rolled a 4. And I did a trade, and after the trade, I ended up with 1 nickel and 2 pennies. So in each row, I just want to know how much I have all together. So I roll again. Hoping for a 6. I got another 3. Oh, well. So I throw down 3 pennies on the table. Hey, I can trade again. So I'm just going to highlight them all and say, do me a trade, please. So now I have 2 nickels. Write it down in your notes. And so what I'm hoping to get from you is this table as part of your work here. So I rolled another 3. That 3 combined with this 2 to give me no tails and 2 nickels. Let's suppose I roll again and I get a 1. That's going to happen. So I got 1 penny, still got 2 nickels. And I roll again and I get a 6. Yeah. Okay, so that 6 is going to give me another nickel here, and then 1 penny left over. So I think I'm going to have 3 nickels altogether now and 2 pennies, because 6 is a 5 and a 1. So there's a 5 I added on and a 1. And then you just keep rolling, and you're going to keep doing that until you build up at least 2 quarters. Will you get exactly 2 quarters? Maybe, but probably not. You'll probably end up with a little over. All right, so you're just going to keep building up that table till you've built 2 nickels. The other version of this is we go backwards, where we start with 3 quarters and we roll our way down. So I'm going to start with either 3 real quarters or 3 fake quarters, and then I'm going to roll the dice and see what happens. I got a 5. So then I got to make change. So I got to take one of these quarters here and I got to break it down. And let's see, what do they roll again? A 5, perfect. So then I can just pull one of these 5s out and put it in the trash here. Actually, I think I got to hit the trash can, and now it's gone. And then we want to keep track of that in the table. So the table is going to look similar, but backwards for this next part. So part 3, lose 3 quarters. I want to keep track of what I rolled. Oops, roll quarters, nickels, and pennies. And so I'm just going to put a line up here with no roll because I started off with 3. And then I rolled a 5, so I had to do a trade. So I only had 2 quarters. I knocked it down to then 5 nickels, but I lost one of those. So this is where I'm at right now. And then I roll again to see what happens. So let's do a couple more rolls, see how this might work out. And you're just going to keep doing that till you get no money left. Do you have to end perfectly at 0? Nope. If you have 2 pennies left and you roll a 5, good, you're done. All right, so let's see. I'm here. I want to roll again. And I got a 2. So then I got to take 2 cents out. So I'm going to have to take one of those, trade it in for some pennies. So you're going to have a little bank nearby. And then I can pick 1, 2 of these. Let's see if I hold shift, it highlights 2 at a time, or circle them, and then I can trash them. And you might challenge yourself, try to do that arithmetic in your head. Otherwise, whip out the pennies and do it there. It's a little easier, but it's good to challenge our brains. So my next roll was a 2. So I had to trade in one of those. I still had 2 quarters. I lost a nickel. That takes me down to 3. That would have given me 5 pennies. I lost 2, so I have 3 pennies. And then just keep rolling and then keep dropping until you get down to no more money. All right, so that's that activity. Just kind of play around with what base 5 feels like, grouping by 5. And then the other activity, so there's a few more questions to answer there. If you get stuck, send me a note. The other activity is to do the same thing, but with base 10. And there's an example like this in earlier videos. What we want to do is we want to take a representation of a number like 136. You're going to make up your own 3-digit number and do this. And then how many different ways can you use the blocks to make this number? So I'll just demonstrate 136 for a minute. And then I have 2 different apps here. I like the Math Learning Center one better lately. One reason, because you can share. We played with this Math Learning Center pattern blocks before. And then the other app here is from Cool Math for Kids, and it's cute too. It does, same kind of stuff. This one's 3D looking, which is kind of nice. I do like the 3D aspect of it. And it's got similar features over on the side. What it doesn't have is the share feature. So I like the colored version of this, so I can see hundreds are red, tens are green, and units are yellow. So I want to show what 136 looks like. And it didn't put them in ideal spots, so I'm just gonna move them over a little bit. And then the question is, well, how can I use the same blocks to make 136 look different? And the answer is, well, trade something in. And why do we trade stuff in? Well, we trade stuff in when we're doing additions, when we need to carry, and when we're doing subtractions and we need to borrow. So this is kind of getting kids warmed up for the idea of borrowing and carrying with harder computation. So I can make this look different by taking this 10 and trading it in for some ones. So now, and I can even draw on the screen, which is kind of fun, but it doesn't work with my magic pen. So I've rewritten 136 to be 100. I think I should type this instead. This is kind of painful on my touchpad. I think it's more painful with a mouse though. And then I have and 2 10s and how many yellows? Those are my ones. I had, did I count the right ones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so I have 16 now ones. So this is another representation of 136. It's just a different grouping of them. I think it'd be okay just to draw your own version. So on a piece of paper, like I have my digital paper, you have your notebook paper. Although I could share that screen with anybody in the world, like you or you or you. I could just draw it out. So my drawings might look something like this. So we're playing with base 10 blocks. I want to represent 136 as 100, 2 10s, and 16 ones. And I would just draw my best big block for 100 and try to draw them to scale. I know I'm not the best drawer some days. So if that's my 100, 10 should look like 1/10 of that. So I should try to make it just as tall, but only 1/10 as wide. And again, I probably should use the line tool because my lines aren't that straight. So there's my 120, and then I would draw in my 16 of these guys. You get what I mean, right? Oh, now my drawing's going to hell. 5, 6. Okay, that's heck. That's bad. How about I draw the 10 and then cut it up and then draw 6? And these don't really have to be color coded. I like the color coding of that toy. So let's see, cut it in half for 5. Oh, they're not quite the same size. And then my 6 ones would be about this big. Okay, definitely going to work on that art. Graph paper would make this way easier. Okay. And so you're going to, for this next part, redraw on paper or with the app different versions of 136 where you break up these groupings in different ways. And then you're going to make your own 3-digit number and you're going to show me 2 other ways to make it. So show me the standard way, show me 2 other ways to make it. Okay. Draw that out, or you could do screenshots from this app here. So I could take a screenshot of that. The share button isn't ideal, but you could use this to, it makes a unique link only to that version. Once I change it, I would need a new link. And that's a little tricky. And I know some people had a hard time with that. So it doesn't work like Google Drive. It's a sharing of a static screenshot at the time. Regular screenshots, I think, work better. Okay, that's it for now. Let's stop here.